Good day everyone, I am Laarni Diaz from Group 3 and I will be discussing to you the media literacy. So my group mates are Talumay Florian, Daria, Jamie, Domingo Jamaica, and Domingsil Jemima. So before anything else, may I first read to you the objectives of this discussion. At the end of this lesson, students will be able to first define media literacy, examine the characteristics, discuss the goals of media literacy, and discuss the importance of media literacy. Okay, so now let's proceed. Media literacy. What is media literacy? Okay, so media literacy includes all technical, cognitive, social, and creative capacities that allow citizens to access, have a critical understanding of the media, and interact with it. It is a field and a movement that promotes and facilitates critical thinking skills oriented toward media messages. It is multidimensional and comprises a set of developmental progressive skills. Okay, so when we speak of media, it encompasses print media such as newspapers, magazines, and posters, and theatrical presentations, tweets, radio broadcasts, etc. So when we talk about literacy, it is having the knowledge about a specific subject. So when we combine the two, media literacy, it simply means that it is the ability to identify different types of media and the messages they are sending. So that is media literacy. Let us now proceed to the importance of media literacy. We have here 8 importance of media literacy. So let's start with the number 1. It teaches you how to verify information and recognize other points of view. Media literacy teaches you how to discern the credibility of information. It drives you to question things like, is this photo telling you the truth? Did this person really mean what the article said, or were the person's words taken out of proportion? Knowing how to determine the validity of each information that you read online keeps you aware that there might be other angles to a story, which helps you accept other people's beliefs and broadens your perspective in the process. Second, it encourages critical thinking. With critical thinking, you are able to discern whether each information that you see makes sense, why some information hasn't been included, and what each idea contains. You not only get to formulate your own ideas using the information you have acquired, but also cite these ideas as examples to support your opinions. Third is, it encourages you to share other sources of media responsibly. Having the freedom of liking, commenting, and sharing posts online also comes at a great risk. Knowing the impact of each information that can be produced online also means you are responsible of whatever information you choose to convey with other people, and if done wrong, false information can spread fast. There might be a possibility that the post you're sharing might either cover just one side of the story, or another post might actually offend your friends, for instance. Next is, it informs readers how the media affect our culture. From the billboards to the text and the videos that we see around us, media tend to promote our culture in various ways. Fairy tales and history around the world, for example, are preserved through books, oral tradition, and other forms of media. Films and TV shows tend to reflect and shape their viewers' consciousness as well. According to the UP College of Mass Communication, movies are not only mere sources of entertainment but are also powerful forces that can shape the consciousness of a nation. And one gets to view or listen to music online, an art form that also tends to reflect the culture it was originated from. Next is, it helps you determine and identify communication and marketing ploys. Surely you've seen motivational quotes online that sound so relatable that chances are you've liked and shared it to your Facebook at a first glance. Or you've probably seen contests featuring your friends on Facebook that ask for your likes and shares. And how about those infographics that tell you to save money? Surely, these graphics look appealing at a glance, but did you know that these are business techniques that sites use to appeal to your emotions so they can sell you the products? It is also how advertising works in order to gain attention. Next is, it teaches you how to not be swayed by persuasion techniques. Each story and information that you see everywhere you go has a side, but being familiar with only one side gives you a smaller view of an issue at hand. Knowing both sides of the story will not only keep you neutral in issues, but will also help you stay aware of texts or images that are meant to deceive its readers into picking sides, such as fake news or propaganda messages. Next, it encourages you to actively participate in public affairs as a citizen. Media involves getting to know what's happening in current affairs. Having a voice in social media alone gives you the ability to actively engage in public conversations, where positive and negative reactions in social media tend to affect the collective opinions of other people regarding a certain issue. If done correctly, sending out a voice or starting a movement through social media can also make an impact in government affairs or make a similar change in the world. And lastly, in turn, it teaches you how to create your own content. In reality, each Facebook status or tweet that we compose is already a form of media. You, in turn, are creating a piece of information that you are willing to share, and each post that you share on social media contains information that you are responsible for. So these are the 8 importance of media. Let's now proceed to the goals of media literacy. So we have 5 goals of media literacy. First is informing yourself and others. The reason why we are using or developing a medium is because we want to be informed or we want to share information. Media literacy can help you to search for information, to assess the information and its sources, and to properly gather, disclose, and disseminate information yourself. Next is interact. Exchanging opinions, feelings, data, goods, services, money. Media literacy can help you to reach the right people and institutions with your communication, to react as effectively as possible to others, to increase your knowledge of which buttons to push, to find your way in the tangle of technical possibilities and services offered, and to consciously deal with your privacy. Third is to create media for yourself and others. Media literacy can help you to develop your basic creative skills, to increase the quality and reach of your work, and to know what you can and cannot do with someone else's work, and how you can make that clear about your own work. Next is to entertain, to amuse yourself and others. Media literacy can help you consciously enjoy media and find a balance between when and for what you use media or not. And lastly, defend. Stand up for yourself, for your opinion, for others, for a greater cause. The media is an important part of the public space, and since ancient times, we have to be able to stand up for ourselves, for others, or for something in the playground, in the street, at work, in a bar, on online petition, a mail protest, or contracting your representatives through social media. You can fend for something or someone through digital media, among others. And sometimes you don't choose to, but have to defend yourself or others against whoever attacks you and your friends and family. Media literacy can help you to be resilient against and for yourself, and for the others. That is for the goals of media literacy. Let us talk about social media. Social media is a term that describes websites to connect people and involve user-generated content, which is the hallmark of a social media site. It is sometimes Web 2.0, which is currently a huge opportunity to reach target audience and increase online sales, which is according to Go 2019. Oxford Dictionaries defines social media as a website and an application that allows users to create and share the content of news or articles, also to participate in social networking. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Messenger are examples of social media. Everything can be accessed by the internet and can be used for sharing information, and ideas can be considered as social media. Social media is very influential, and that is very true. It's very influential on the public mindset because users are not only able to absorb the information presented but can submit feedback directly. Let's now move on to the types of social media websites. First, we have here social media news websites. This one, it entails users to submit links to web content like articles, podcasts, videos, etc. that they find interesting, such as Digg, Reddit, and stumble upon. Users then proceed to vote on said items, and the items with the highest number of votes are prominently displayed. Next is the social media networking websites. It depicts ability to upload a personal profile that usually connects with other people, such as LinkedIn and Facebook. LinkedIn is a social networking for professionals, and Facebook is a social networking for everyone. These sites serve as avenue for meeting people and developing relationships that can lead to joint venture partnerships, career opportunities, and research. It also allows us to connect with our friends, families, and even brands. Most social network sites let users share thoughts, upload photos and videos, and participate in groups of interest. Next is the social media photo and video sharing. It allows users to upload photos through Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest, while videos through YouTube. Media sharing websites allow users to share different types of media, with the two main ones being image sharing and video hosting sites. Most of these sites also offer social features like the ability to create profiles and the option of commenting on the uploaded images or videos. These platforms mostly encourage user-generated content where anyone can create, curate, and share the creativity that speaks about them or spark conversations. Next is the microblogging and blogging websites, sometimes called presence apps. These services let users post very short messages like blogging and easily keep up with what their friends are posting. Twitter is the most popular microblogging service that limits to 280 characters per post and allows to follow a set of users from one dashboard. Another popular social media app is Snapchat, which is video-based. These are just what they sound like, sites that allow the users to submit their short written entries, which can include links to product and service sites, as well as links to other social media sites. These are then posted on the walls of everyone who has subscribed to that user's account. The most commonly used microblogging website is Twitter. Next is the social media review websites. It shows how social reviews can make or break a company or an organization, such as Amazon and eBay. Review sites like TripAdvisor and Foursquare show reviews from community members for all sorts of locations and experiences. This keeps people out of the dark and allows them to make better planning or decisions when it comes to choosing a restaurant for their date. Not just beneficial to regular users like you and me, businesses can also get to understand the customer's perspective. both the good and bad. This can help them to identify what's working and discover areas with room for improvement. And that is for the types of social media websites. Media and information literacy is a combination of knowledge, attitudes, skills, and practices required to access, analyze, evaluate, use, produce, and communicate information and knowledge in creative, legal, and ethical ways that respect human rights. This is according to Moscow Declaration on Media and Information Literacy, 2012. The UNESCO defines it as the set of competencies to search, critically evaluate, use, and contribute information and media content wisely, the knowledge of one's rights online, refraining from cyberbullying, understanding related issues, and engaging with media and ICTs to promote equality, free expression, intercultural or interreligious dialogue, peace, etc. So we are now down to the dimensions of media information literacy. The first one is tool literacy. This is the ability to understand and use practical and conceptual tools of current information technology, including software, hardware, and multimedia that are relevant to education and the areas of work and professional life. This is the ability to use print and electronic resources, including software. Next is the resource literacy. This is the ability to understand the form, format, location, and access methods of information resources. Next is the social structural literacy. This is knowing how information is socially situated and produced, fits into the life of groups about the institutions and social networks. Next is the research literacy. It is the ability to understand and use IT-based tools relevant to the work of researchers and scholars that include computer software for quantitative analysis, qualitative analysis, and simulation. Next is the publishing literacy. It is the ability to format and publish research and ideas electronically in textual and multimedia forms. Next is the emerging technology literacy. It is the ability to adapt to, understand, evaluate, and use emerging innovations in information technology. And lastly, critical literacy. It is the ability to evaluate critically the intellectual, human, and social strengths and weaknesses, potentials and limits, benefits and costs of information technologies. And here are the advantages of media literacy. First is you are aware of everything. You question why content was published, you question why it was published and when it was published, you understand how it was produced, you understand the type of emotion the producers are trying to elicit. Next is you think consciously about the type of information you are feeding yourself. You also broaden your horizons and gather information from all news stations, not just the news station that you agree with. Also, you understand the media's agenda-setting theory and learn about issues that are going on in the world but are not being reported. You begin leading a happy, meaningful life because you are smart enough to understand that the information you consume is not an accurate image of the world or the people who are posting it. If there are advantages, there are also disadvantages of media literacy, and which are the following. Media literacy might lure people to abuse and misuse their skills when accessing internet. There are people who are using media to deceive other people, like creating fake news. Also, it can entice people to download and share copyrighted materials, which are obviously not appropriate. Also, sent messages through text or email strain relationship. It can also distract people from doing important tasks. These following are the disadvantages of media literacy. So let's now move on to the integrating media literacy in the curriculum. Although media literacy is now part of the curricula, It is confronted with a variety of factors such as limited access to equipment, teachers' lack of confidence with the material, and perception of media education as just as accessory to the curriculum. Lynch 2018 presents 6 ways to integrate media literacy into the classroom for students to become media literate while making media education a meaningful and integrated part of classroom practice. First is to teach students to evaluate media. First, students must be taught how to evaluate media. For example, teachers need to discuss bias and sources. By showing students that media changes depending on who produced it, who the intended audience is, and what biases may be attributed to the source, this helps students learn to evaluate what they are viewing. Next is to show students where to find digital resources and databases. Teachers should also provide students with reliable media sources. This means teaching students how to evaluate websites and digital resources for trustworthy content. For instance, there are several databases designed for students to use for safe resources. Next is to compare contrast various media sources. In your discussions, compare and contrast various media sources. For example, when you cover a news story, have students read the story from different sources. When you are discussing films or television, compare elements. Fourth is to discuss how the media edits and alters. Purposely point out examples of media altering photographs or stories. Teach students to be leery of what they see or read at face value. For instance, when they realize the magazines have been altered, it makes a difference in how they perceive themselves. Next is to examine the truth in advertisements. Have students identify what advertisements are trying to sell and what promises or ideas are they using to convince you to buy the product. And lastly, have students create media. Finally, have students create media. Depending on the grade level, you can have students create presentations, videos, or websites. For example, students can create movie posters they can create movie posters of movie trailers. Media skills. Reflect on and analyze your own media consumption habits. Identify the author, purpose, and point of view in films, commercials, television and radio programs, magazine and newspaper editorials, and advertising. Identify the range production techniques that are used to communicate opinions and shape audiences' response. Identify and evaluate the quality of media's representation of the world by examining patterns, stereotyping, emphasis, and omission in print and television, news, and other media. Also, appreciate the economic underpinnings of mass media industries to make distinctions between those media which sell audiences to advertisers and those which do not. And understand how media economics shapes message content and gain familiarity and experiences in using mass media tools for personal expression and communication and for purposes of social and political advocacy. And there are 3 approaches of teaching media literacy, which are the media arts education approach, media literacy movement approach, and critical media literacy approach. For the media arts education approach, it intends to teach students to value the aesthetic qualities of media and the arts while using their creativity for self-expression through creating art and media. Next is the media literacy movement approach. It attempts to expand the notion of literacy to include popular culture and multiple forms of media, such as music, video, internet, advertising, etc., while still working within a print literacy tradition. Next is a critical media literacy approach. It focuses on ideology, critiquing and analyzing the politics of representation of crucial dimensions of gender, race, class, and sexuality, incorporating alternative media productions and expanding the textual analysis to include issues of social context, control, resistance, and pleasure. Next is assessing and evaluating media literacy work. Just like any student outputs, media-oriented works should also be evaluated to assess quality based on standards. Students need regular feedback to be able to reflect on their progress and develop mastery, and that would remind that it is an important part of the course. Canada's Centre for Digital and Media Literacy prescribed two important steps in creating objectives, comprehensive and meaningful assessment and evaluation tools for media literacy work, namely by using a rubric to assess the work of students and by framing the expectations within the rubric in terms of key concepts of media literacy. In general, media literacy work can be evaluated in three ways. First is based on how well the student understands the key concept of media literacy and the specific concepts and ideas being explored in the lesson. Second is based on the depth and quality of the student's inquiry and analysis of the questions raised in the lesson, as well as his or her thoughtfulness in identifying issues and questions to examine. And third is based on how well the student applies specific technical skills associated with either the medium being student, the medium used in the evaluation tool, or both. And the key concepts of media literacy. First is all media messages are constructed. Media texts are built just as purely as buildings and highways are built. The key behind this concept is figuring out who constructed the message, out of what materials, and to what effect. Second is media messages are constructed using a creative language with its own rules. Each form of communication has its own creative language. Scary music heightens fear, camera close-ups convey intimacy, big headlines signal significance. Understanding the grammar, syntax, and metaphor of media language helps us to be less susceptible to manipulation. Third is different people experience the same media message differently. Audiences play a role in interpreting media messages because each audience member brings to the message a unique set of life experiences. Differences in age, gender, education, and cultural upbringing will generate unique interpretations. Next is media have embedded values and points of view. Because they are constructed, media messages carry a subtext of who and what is important, at least to the person or people creating the message. The choice of the character's age, gender, or race, the selection of a setting, and the actions within the plot are just some of the ways what values become embedded in a television show, a movie, or an advertisement. Next is, most media messages are organized to gain profit and/or power. Much of the world's media were developed as money-making enterprises. Newspapers and magazines lay out their pages with ads first. The space remaining is devoted to news. Likewise, commercials are part and parcel of most television watching. Now, the internet has become an international platform through which groups or individuals can attempt to persuade. By considering the core concepts behind every media message, you equip yourself with an ability to analyze and interpret a message, and to accept or reject its legitimacy. So, thank you for listening, and this is our discussion about media literacy. Thank you, everyone.